Hello and welcome to the Bibliophage podcast from Pleasant Phantom Productions. I am Gwenna Laithland. If you've never heard of me, I am a New York Times and USA Today best-selling author. People like to watch me on the internet, and I'm a bibliophage and also a lexiphile. A lexiphile is someone who loves words like bibliophage, which means someone who devours or consumes books like food. And that is what I do. I devour books. Right now, as I am recording this, it is Wednesday, May 28th, 2025, and I have read 42 books this year alone. I read really fast. I really, really like reading books. I read in a lot of different formats, which is part of what enables me to read so much so fast. I devour books. This whole podcast is going to be a series of grown-up book reports about books I devoured and wanted second, thirds, infinity helpings of.
Please, sir, I want some more.
You ever read that book that you immediately begin mourning, not because you've read the book, but because you will never again be able to read the book for the first time? Like, you will always know what happens, and that makes you incredibly sad. We're going to talk about those books that royally messed up my entire psyche because they were so good. But I'm not just going to tell you, the listener, the watcher, the fellow bibliophages. I'm going to do something we have all wanted to do. I'm going to force someone to listen to me rant about all the books I love and why, because this is Tori Phantom.
Hi. I'm honestly so excited to listen to you rant about books.
Yeah, so I'm basically going to sit Tori down and force them to listen to me talk about books. Tori and I have been friends for 5 years, and we have a lot of similarities. It doesn't appear it right now, but we both have a penchant for kind of insane looking makeup and hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
We both have a super dark sense of humor.
We both enjoy reading.
Yeah.
Wildly different books.
Yeah, we both have 3 kids each.
Yeah. We're both theater
married.
nerds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Blue dots and red states.
We're both incredibly cringy millennials.
Oh, painfully. It sucks.
Yeah.
Like, we acknowledge, we embrace, and there's nothing we can do about it. So we're just going to lean into it.
We wouldn't want to do anything about it.
But we also have a lot of differences. The most glaring difference is in terms of how we prefer to consume entertainment.
Yes.
So, little known fact about Tori Phantom. They don't have a very good attention span. And they don't watch a whole lot of movies. Like, they just don't make it. Doesn't
that
hold.
Movie,
they have watched many movies.
That movie, haven't seen it. The TV show?
No,
what is that? I haven't heard of it.
Most of our conversations will be my ADHD deciding now is an appropriate time to spit out a movie quote, and Tori going, what?
Yeah.
Because they don't know it.
That's most of my relationships. If it's a really obscure movie, like, I've seen it. You know, The Room, Troll 2, all of those, I've seen those. But no, generally I live under a rock and I just like to engage with the things I know I like. So if you want to talk about Rent.
At some point, I'm sure Bibliophage will definitely have no choice but to cover Jonathan Larson's book.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it has to happen. But we are both readers. We're very diverse readers in that both of us read a lot of things. But Tori still manages to read pretty much the exact opposite of everything that I read. So I read a ton of genres and types of books and authors and stories that cross cultural and time boundaries. Tori reads the same, but still somehow does not read the same books that I read.
I read a lot more nonfiction, and that isn't just, surprisingly, for everyone who knows me, I don't only read historical biographies. right now, kind of, but generally, I read a lot of memoirs. I read a lot of poetry.
What is poetry?
That page has been ripped out, sir.
This podcast is going to be explaining why I read what I read to someone who has probably never, ever read the book. But it's also going to be a love story of reading, the art of reading, the science of reading, what goes into the act of reading, how we choose our books, what our reading habits are, what is mood reading, and is that a good or a bad thing? I do need to establish some ground rules for the podcast. So we're not actually going to be talking about a book. We're going to be talking about the podcast about books today on this episode of Bibliophage. Episode 1s are always terrible.
I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know I'm doing it really, really well.
So, but it's important. And this way you can't say, well, you never told me that. I did. You just didn't listen to the episode because it was boring episode 1. First, you will never hear me specifically discuss a book I didn't care for or did not finish.
Why?
Because, first of all, me not finishing a book does not mean that it was a bad book. That's is true. Universal.
Yeah.
If you currently believe when you choose not to finish a book, if you are among the crowd that just will stop reading a book when it's no longer bringing you joy or entertainment, that doesn't make it a bad book. It just made it a bad book for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every book has an audience. Every book has an audience.
Well, I mean, imagine walking into a library and deciding to just chronologically pick every book up off the shelf.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to do that because, not every one of those books is meant for you. And sometimes you think a book is meant for you and it just isn't.
It just isn't.
Turns out it wasn't. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to not finish a book because I got distracted and forgot the book existed, honestly.
I'm a conscientious did not finish. If I don't feel like I'm enjoying, I'll do a couple different things to see if it's going to redeem itself, if I'm just not being patient enough. But for the most part, I will stop a book at any point I discover something that was not for me, or if it's just not holding me. But that doesn't make it mean it's a bad book. All that being said, I strongly believe if I didn't even bother to finish the book, or if it was not a book that seemed appealing to me, or if it was a book written for an audience so far away from me, I don't get it at all, why would I spend my time talking about that?
That's a very valid point. And it just seems rude.
Yeah.
And so if you don't mention a book, does it mean you didn't like it?
No.
That's fine.
No, it's just.
I mean, you've read 42 books this year, so it wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think you can mention every book.
I can't mention every book. This year alone, I've read 42 books. I've had long reading slumps. There are millions, billions of books.
Yeah.
From publishing houses to stuff that is in the public domain because it was written a long time ago to the immense ocean of amazing independent author works.
Yeah.
There's so many amazing stories floating around the independent author spaces. No, if I don't mention a book, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Because
chances are pretty great. I didn't even know it existed.
Right. This show is more a love letter to your favorite books then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's strictly that. Like there's no other criteria for how a book. I liked the book, therefore I'm going to talk about the book.
I am interested to see. We'll have to keep a tally of how many books that you describe in such a way that makes me pick it up. Because
That's fair.
Yeah. But so what sort of books do you read? I know that you are really into romance and romantasy, but like, is there going to be a genre that Bibliophage sticks to, or
not really?
Like, where are we going?
Yeah, yes, there will be, I'm going to confess straight up, there will be a large number of romance and romantasy titles because that is my preferred genre. But I also read women's fiction. I write women's fiction. So obviously I read women's fiction, general fiction, sci-fi. If I read it and like it, it might be featured on Bibliophage. If Tori reads it and likes it, it might be featured on Bibliophage.
How do you pick what to read? Like, is there a pattern I should expect?
I'm what's called a mood reader. I can't ever determine what I'm going to read next. So I love getting recommendations from my friends. I adore it. But it might be the next book I read. It might be a book that just goes on my story graph list and stays there for the next 2.5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
That does not mean that I did not value your recommendation. It's just that I wasn't in the mood for it. I am sorry.
I will say the thing as well for me. If I really like a book from an author and then I try a second one, I really like it, I will end up reading every book from that author. So I am like a completionist in like, oh, I liked these 2 books. This is now, I will read all of these.
Everything by that, yeah.
Yeah, we can, I guess at some point, just talk about authors that we were like, every book's a hit, everyone. Okay, so, well, what about spoilers? Are you ever going to give spoilers?
So, first of all, you like spoilers.
I do.
Because you hate surprises.
I do.
I have found literally the perfect co-host for the Bibliophage podcast where I talk about books, because this human being will not give one flying cute rat's behind if I spoil a book for them.
Sometimes the spoiler is what makes me want to like engage with something where I'm like, oh, that sounds like a cool twist. Let me go be unsurprised by it.
You're right. And yes, there will be spoilers in this podcast. There are going to be spoilers in this podcast, but, and I'm even going to pull Tori out of this shot because I, as the host of Bibliophage, am going to make unto you a solemn vow. I solemnly swear I will warn you and give you time to escape before I drop a spoiler. Additionally, I promise to do my best never to discuss spoilers or content that could be spoilers until a title is at least 3 months old. Okay, Tori, come back. If we're talking a book that is 10 years old, I will say, hey, we're about to give spoilers, and then give you a little bit of time to escape if this is on your TBR and you don't want to hear about it. But y'all, the book is 10 years old. You cannot get mad at me for discussing spoilers.
Yeah.
Renesmee lives, okay?
Because you are an author.
Yes.
A very successful author. What a flex. New York Times bestseller. It's pretty cool.
My imposter syndrome is making this pterodactyl screech in the back of my head.
Yeah,
move on. Stop praising me.
No, you're great. But you're also an avid reader, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard that you're not supposed to like review books as an author. Like that's frowned upon in author spaces. Kind of.
So here's where we end up with when you get an author who is also a reader and a reader who becomes an author. And it is especially tricky when, as a reader, you were already engaged in reviewing other authors' works. And then you get the opportunity or you commit to the process of publishing your own book or you get a book deal. Because you've been writing this whole time, you have now transcended into a different level of existence in that you're an author and you're not supposed to review other books. And I personally think that is bullshit. It's complete and utter bullshit.
That's fair.
Because I am still a reader before I am an author. And I see absolutely no problem, not by attacking the things, because you have editors, you have publishing companies, you have beta readers, you have even to some extent ARC readers that will help you refine your craft. But I feel no qualms in reading another person's book going, this was fucking amazing. I need everyone to understand that.
I think in addition, perhaps a thing you haven't considered because of said imposter syndrome, that, you know, you're probably someone's favorite author.
Yeah.
And to get
that's weird to think about.
Yeah. So enjoy that spiral for a bit. But there are people out there who are going to treasure the book recommendations from their favorite
author. Before I was a writer, as a reader. Now as a writer, I read more than I ever did. And as a writer, I crave validation. As a writer, I understand what sort of validation I crave. As a writer, I can give my coworkers, my fellow people slogging through the industry in one of a billion ways, the validation that I know you guys crave. Everyone does. And I am choosing to validate these artists, these authors, the way I want to be validated. I want people to sing my praises from the hills. As weird as it is to think,
just not to your face.
Not to my face. Don't actually like look at me and say things because then I have to make a facial expression.
Yeah, I
Shut
just
up.
do it for fun.
I'm not going to be tearing things down. I'm not going to be talking about the books that I didn't like. I'm not going to be offering criticism or critique to, hey, you should write this better. I'm going to be saying how amazing a job you did. I'm going to be saying all the reasons everyone should be reading this book. I am going to be begging to worship at your feet and learn how you wrote that book so good because I want to write books that good. That's what the point of this is. I'm not going to be tearing down. Now, does that mean we're never going to critique anything? No. Sometimes we're absolutely, but mostly it's going to be critiquing the characters you made up and the choices that they made.
You don't want all the characters to be likable.
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
No.
That would be so boring. We would be reading like kindergarten books again. So sometimes we celebrate how much we hate a character.
Correct. That
because
doesn't mean
takes
that
effort.
It's such good writing to get me to hate something and keep reading it.
Yes, because that's part of the entertainment. I don't hate it like I don't want to read this. I hate this character because this character was characterized so well.
So well, right.
Yeah.
So sometimes complaining about storylines is still, in fact, singing from the hilltops how well this book was written. And that's the goal. That's kind of what we're going to explore. So to close every episode, because we have reached the end of our episode, we're going to share our menu because this podcast is called Bibliophage. It's books worth devouring. So our menu is going to include a book we just finished, the book we are currently reading, and for me, I am also going to include the book that I am preparing for the following episode. Episodes will come out every 2 weeks.
So you're going to be really shocked by my
So
menu.
if you don't know, Tori has a podcast called Founded, and it is focused on the founding of the United States of America through the American Revolutionary War period. Not just the American Revolutionary War, the whole revolution.
I just finished 2 books because, again, I read 5 at a time. So I just finished Lies My Teacher Told Me, 2nd edition by James Lowen, which is a book about history classes not being totally accurate. The other book I just finished is Friends Divided, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson by Gordon S. Wood. And that is about their tumultuous relationship. I am currently reading A Promised Land by Barack Obama. That's one that showed up in the Audible sample. And I was like, oh, I like this. And then my to be read next on my list is Lafayette by Harlow Giles? I don't know. Jiff.
For me, I just finished Zoe's Tale by John Scalzi. I am currently reading The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I was so excited for this book, and it has not let me down. It's definitely going to be on the podcast sometime soon, but it is a brand new release, so you're not going to hear about it for at least the next 3 months because I can't discuss it until it's at least 3 months old. And then next time on Bibliophage, we're going to be chewing on Vanya and the Wild Hunt by Sangu Mandana and why that is the superior replacement for all of you in Harry Potter withdrawal because J.K. Rowling is a piece of fucking shit.
Agreed.
I